We're starting class number 7, and we definitely need to recap a bit. So what we're going to do is, we're looking at handout number 16. Okay, that's what we're looking at now. And what we started doing, we started stage 1 of what do we do when you find yourself in front of a new sugya? Okay, a sugya you've never seen before. What are the first steps that you take? So we said the first thing we need to do is what? We also, there's a handout that's here, right? And it says over here, stage number 1, we need to identify the function words. Okay? How do we know what the function words are? So we have a list, but as time goes by, it's not that many words. It's not a huge vocabulary. You don't need to, in order to learn Gemara, you don't need to memorize dozens of words. There's maybe between, I don't know, there's maybe 20 to 30, maybe tops 40 key words that we call function words. Okay? That if you are able to understand what they mean and be able to identify them, then 60-70% of learning Gemara you're able to do. And I know it sounds like, oh, it can't be that easy. It's not that easy, but it's not as hard as people think. And what we started to do is with our SUGYA, we started to identify the function words, which we've done already, and where we've reached, we'll trail that again in a minute. Then the second step is create a logical sequence. So let's just recap. If you guys, if someone has a list, or we can do it again. We can all, you know what? Let's recreate it from scratch. Okay? Let's all look together. Let's make believe we didn't do it 2 weeks ago. Let's look at SUGYA, right? And Daf Kaftet Amud Aleph in Sanhedrin. Excuse me, in Kiddushin. Okay.
What's the line in numbers?
29a. So we're starting from, everyone have it?
No.
29a, Kaftet Amud Aleph. By the way, Lawrence, is the whiteboard in the frame also?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. Here, I'll move here just a little bit. Okay. So we're gonna do this together. If someone could, I'm gonna start reading, and please, if you need extra Gemara, you have? There's an extra Gemara over there if someone wants. Okay, so I'm going to start reading, and please stop me when I get to a function word that you either remember or sounds like a function word. So we're starting from the Gemara. My kol mitzvot ben ala'av. Is there a function word there? My. Very good. Okay. Let me do the words in black. Okay. We're not saying yet what it is. Okay. Again, we're just recapping. Okay. So my, which we're gonna also write the translation of it. And then we're going to talk about the function of it. What is the translation of the word my? What? Correct. Okay? Is what? Okay, what we're going to do here is, we're going to do like this. We're going to do, okay. I'm continuing. My kol mitzvot ben ala'av. Anashim chayavim v'nashim p'turot. Wait, is it oh no, excuse me, I'm in the Gemara, I'm sorry. My kol mitzvot ben ala'av. Ileima kol, what? Ileima, very good. Okay, just a second. I'll just hold on to these two. Okay. Hopefully everyone is with us. Ileima, what does the word Ileima mean?
If you say.
What? If you say, correct. Okay? If you say. We're just translating them right now, okay? What I want to do now is, again, we're just identifying the function words, what they mean, and then we will, on our own, even without the map that I gave us, even without the dictionary we gave us, we're going to figure out on our own what function they serve, okay? So where are we? Ilema kol mitzvot de mechayev bra leme'avad le'aba nashim p'turot veha tanya ish. Stop me if I. Okay. Vehatanya. Correct. What does Vehatanya mean? Someone remember? Or look at the dictionary. Vehatanya. What is Tanya? This we know from a long time ago.
As it is said.
Wait, first of all, let's break it up. What is Tanya?
Tanaim, that's it.
Tanaic source. What's Veha?
And the.
Not and the.
It doesn't.
Isn't it in the Braita? Meaning, doesn't it say in the Braita, da-da-da-da-da-da? Okay? Veha Tanya is, doesn't it say in Braita? Meaning in the Tanaic source? Da-da-da. Okay, let's continue. והתניא איש אין לי אלא איש אישה מניין כשהוא אומר איש אמו ואביו פטירה הרי כאן שניים אמר רב יהודה הכי כאמר כל מצוות הבן what? הכי כאמר? yes, הכי כאמר which means what? הכי כאמר
This is what it says.
This is what it says. This is what it says. Okay, we're continuing. We're almost done with our sugya. הכי כאמר, כל מצוות הבן המוטלות על האב לעשות לבנו, אנשים חייבים ונשים פטורות. תנינה לה דתנו רבנן. Right. How do you know that tanina is a function word? Based on what we've learned in the past. How do we know that tanina and tanu rabbanan are function words based on what we know already from the past?
Because of the Tanaic source.
Because tanu rabbanan is the beginning of a quote of a Tanakh source, right? We said anytime the root taf, nun, aleph appears, it's quoting a Tanakh source. Tanya, tanina, tanu rabbanan, Detanya, whatever. Anytime the root Taf Nun Aleph appears, it's going to be quoting a Tanakh source. Okay?
Except for Vahat 9, right?
What?
Except.
No, Vahatanya. Doesn't it say in the Braita? Braita is Tanakh source.
All right.
Sorry.
In the form of a question.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a form of the question. Doesn't it say in the Tanakh source the following? Quote
challenge.
Tanakh source? Yep. Doesn't it say in Tanakh source the following? Okay. Okay, we'll get there. Yep, we'll get there. So, oh wait, you had Tanina, right? Tanina the Tanu Rabbanan. Okay, which is what? It says in Tanakh source. I would have, if I had the time, I was running a little bit late today, so I wasn't able to print out. I would have printed out this table for us to fill in. But it's if you want to copy it down, fine. Or if it fits with what we said before, also fine. Okay. Okay. תנינא להדתנו רבנן, האב חייב בבנו למולו ולפדותו וללמדו תורה ולהשיאו אישה וללמדו אומנות, ויש אומרים אף להשיטו במים. רבי יהודה אומר, כל שאינו מלמד את בן... What? Okay, רבי יהודה אומר, good. Actually, this one, we'll speak about it soon, because this time, a lot of people got stuck on this last time. We'll explain how we know this. Okay? רבי יהודה אומר, where are we? כל שאינו מלמד את בנו אומנות, מלמדו ליסטות. ליסטות שר כדעתך. Right? שר כדעתך, we said... Oh wait, sorry. I know I'm a little bit all over the place right now. Can people see this? Yeah, I'm going to move this over here. Okay? Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yehuda says. Yehuda says. And over here we have... Wait, hopefully people can see all the way down here. Sar kadatach. What does sar kadatach mean? Anyone remember or know?
It would come up to your mind.
Right. It would occur to you. Come to your mind, right? Come up. Come to your mind. And then, again, if some of you aren't following this perfectly fine, we're going to clarify it soon. And I apologize that this is so far down. And the last one is We're going to stop here for a second. Okay, we'll stop here. Okay. This is what you guys did last week when you identified, you went through and based on the dictionary that we had, you identified these. Now, without us looking at the dictionary, forget about the dictionary for a second, okay? We're going to figure out on our own. Just a second. I'm going to have to stand over here. Hopefully, does it capture me? Yeah? Captures me? Okay. We have to figure out on our own what the different stages are. Okay? Forget about the dictionary. We're just using our own logic right now. Okay? Because one of the things of this whole concept of using function words does, basically says, look, as long as you understand, you can figure out the function that each word serves, you'll be able to understand what to expect. What is the Gemara trying to do here? We said the biggest part that so many people miss about what it is from the Gemara, it's not figuring out what the Gemara is saying. For that you can just pick up a translation. But even if you pick up a translation, we all know it doesn't mean you can suddenly understand what's going on. The chachma and the chap of understanding Gemara is not understanding what the Gemara is saying, rather is understanding what the Gemara is doing. Okay? Because it's a way of thinking and analyzing and argumentation. It's logical structures. So it's not about language. Okay? So let's just give an easy example. Set off. What? Okay? The word my. What is the function of this word? What is it introducing? What logical state? Right? We have seven stages. Let's wait. You know what? Let's remind ourselves quickly. What are the 7 building blocks of possible building blocks of any sugya in the world?
Memra.
What? Memra, which is what? Statement. Let's see if we can do it without looking at our notes. Memra, which is a statement. A sheila, which is a question. And what defines a question? It comes from a place of innocence, of ignorance. I don't know. I need more information, right? It doesn't presume anything, right? And following a she'elah, what would be the next logical step after a question or a query? What? A teshuva, an answer. Okay. Next possible stage? A kushya, which is an attack. What differentiates a kushya from a question? A kushya from the place of innocence. I don't know. I need more info. Kushya says, I do know that you are wrong, and this is why. What?
The foundation to that.
Yeah, meaning a kushya is a statement of certainty. You are wrong, either because it doesn't make sense or because there's a source that says otherwise, right? A shelah says, I don't know. A kushya says, I do know that you are wrong, and this is why. Okay, so that's a kushya. After a kushya, what was the next logical structure? A terutz, which is a removal of an attack or a rebuttal. But we like to use the phrase removal of an attack because a terutz will always relate to. So if a kushya says you are wrong, a terutz says I might not be wrong. Right? Okay. And we'll learn about the dynamic later as we go. So that was memra, she'elah, tshuva, kushya, terutz, raya, which is what? A proof, and then last but not least, a stira, which is a rejection. Okay? Those are the 7 stages. So, my. Okay? My means what? What is this introducing? You don't have to remember, but logic, what? Question, right? She'elah. Right? Good. Okay? Now, it's not a matter of memorization. When you see a sentence that starts with the word what, what? It's introducing a question. Even if I don't know yet what the content is, even if I can't understand the words that follow the word what, all I need to do is the word to know that W-H-A-T means what. So I know there's going to be a question, and that question is going to be followed by what? By all likelihood, an answer. Right? Okay. So, we have a she'elah, and then we have ilema. Now let's think about this phrase, ilema. If you say, okay, what does this sound like? Think about the phrase, meaning there's a question, and then if you say, I don't know what it's going to follow, I don't know the words, what it's going to say next, but if you say 1, 2, 3, what does it sound like?
A kushya.
What?
A kushya.
Okay. One possibility is definitely a kushya, okay? So we have one possibility, don't write this down yet because we're going to change it. One possibility is a kushya, okay?
Could just be a question.
Now, but think about the phrase. If you tell me that the answer is X, what will follow? If I'm starting off with the phrase, if you tell me,
Then I would conclude.
then I would conclude, or meaning I'm asking you for a question. But who's talking here? Okay, is it the same person talking or not?
No. It might be.
It very much could be.
Could be, I suppose.
Tell me, where were you? Okay, if you tell me that you went to the bathroom, I'm just coming from school, I'll ask you who told you. You know, I'll tell you that I happen to know that the bathroom is out of order at the moment. Meaning, if you tell me, it's basically saying, here's a possible answer, but don't even think of telling me that this is an answer, right? So if you tell me that the answer to the question is X, I'm going to reject that. So it could sound like a kushya, right? But really what it's doing, it's introducing a possible answer. But I know ahead of time that is this answer going to stand? No. How do I know that it's not going to stand? Based on this phrasing, if.
Yeah.
If you try to answer the following answer, that would be unacceptable for the following reasons. So who's talking here?
Person.
The person asking the question. Okay? Meaning, if you just see the word ilema, it very much could be an attack. Okay? It would depend on the context. But if it was a kushya, would a kushya logically follow a question? I'm asking you a question. I don't know. Remember, a question says, I don't know. There's a phrase here in the Mishnah that I just don't understand. So, what does it mean? An attack, remember, starts with that an attack is a statement of certainty that says, you're wrong. What could I possibly be wrong about? All I did is ask you, I don't know what the words mean. Is what do these words mean? So, although sometimes, okay, ilema is an attack, over here it definitely is not. Do you see why? Right? Everyone understands why? Because there's no doubt that the first stage is what? A question. There's no doubt that it's a question. Okay? My is a question. My is always a question. Because it's what? Okay? In this case, it's what does the following phrase mean? There could be nothing more innocent than that. So, how could you be attacking me? I'm ignorant. Everyone with me? Okay. So, although it sounds like it could be a kushya, in this case, it just doesn't make sense that it is. So we have to erase this. Okay? So we're back to, okay, so what else could ilema be? If you tell me, what? Right. It could be a tshuva.
Well, it's part of the question.
Correct. Very good. Excellent. But it doesn't stand alone. Okay? It doesn't stand alone. Because it's a tshuva which I know, which is answer, right? Answer. And I know that right now we don't even know what the sugya is talking about. But that's the thing. This is, again, at first it's almost like we have to do something very unnatural. But as we go, we will learn how to do this together with reading the Gemara. It just goes in stages. But it's a tshuva that's not a real tshuva. Because it's not even given a chance. It's saying, if you try to answer my question the following way, then what? Vehatanya. Okay? Vehatanya is usually what? What's Hatanya? Doesn't it say in a Tanaic source? What does that sound like? Doesn't it say in a Tanaic source? What does that sound like? The phrasing. Don't be afraid to answer. Come on.
It's a kind of mistake.
What?
It's a kind of mistake.
I'm gonna say it with the tone that I would say it if you were. Doesn't it say in a Braita something else?
It's a contradiction. It's an
attack. It's an attack.
Yeah.
It's an attack, right? Now, if I'm saying something that it sounds like I'm assuming that it's obvious and it's not, challenge me and say, no, I don't understand why that should be an attack. But we in the dictionary, which I'm trying not to use now, okay, because I don't want to necessitate that. There's only way you can do this is if I memorize these words. Eventually, we'll learn these words and we'll know them. Hatanya appears. There's probably not a single page in the entire Talmud, with all of its 3,000 something pages, that doesn't have the word Hatanya in it. Okay, and Hatanya is an attack. It says, doesn't it say something else in a Tanaic source somewhere else?
Yes, but it's saying under Ilema,
it's basically saying, don't answer me this way, but it isn't proposing an answer.
Well, it doesn't say don't. Wait, it doesn't say, the translation of the word ilema isn't don't tell me the following answer. It's if you tell me that the answer is X, that is unacceptable because in the Braita it says something else. Okay?
Maybe it would help if there was an explanation. I know you didn't want to go into translation, but if we actually took the translation of this one part, say actually what it means.
Of course, it would make it easier.
Then would it help the explanation of
Yes.
of what we're trying to
It would.
accomplish?
Yeah, it would. But the reason, the
If
reason.
you say that, he won't.
The reason I'm doing something which is unnatural. I know, and it's but because I want us to train ourselves to be able to understand at least some part, even without understanding the language. And then when you skim over it, you can get a general overview before you start breaking your teeth, or even looking at a translation. It's not that it's perfectly fine, okay, to learn Gemara in English, as long as you understand that it's not just something to read through. Rather, you have to understand that there are different stages and be able to have this kind of language of identifying the logical structures. So, it's almost like, you meet someone who has been taught himself how to read, like just on his own, kind of read, and sometimes you have to kind of deconstruct and kind of say, let's go back to basics and make believe you don't know something because you've learned it a little crooked or gotten used to a bad habit, So let's make believe you don't know all that, and let's start from scratch and build it up with this system, okay, that we're using. So yeah.
I think how we did it last time was, it almost explained it better. Not saying that.
It's fine. It's okay.
Because how we did it last time was very much similar, but when we went, okay, this is a question, and then this is, then originally most people thought that it was a kushya. So we went, okay, fine, it's a kushya. Then we kept going.
So I'll tell you what happened. I sat down today to prepare the class and to pick up from where we left off 2 weeks ago, and I looked at my own notes based on where we finished off, and I looked at the SUGYA, and it didn't make sense. And because, you remember last time I said, when I gave out the dictionary, I said, listen, these covered 9 out of 10 times, okay, that this word will serve this function, this word will serve this function, or 99 out of 100 times. And then I looked at the SUGYA again today, and I realized that a couple of these words in our SUGYA is the 1 out of 100 times that it doesn't fit the rule. And I looked at what we did last week, and I said, wait a second, there's a logical inconsistency here, and therefore I said, let's deconstruct what we did last week. And the reason that you guys made that mistake last week, meaning that I made the mistake last week, is because I created this little dictionary which will serve us well from, in most of the time, will serve us very, very well. I might adjust it, I might, touch it up a little bit, but because we just kind of use it as like a dictionary that we just kind of looked at, and not looked at it in its naked form almost, on its own independently, we made a mistake.
But we corrected that mistake.
No, it wasn't fully corrected.
Oh, was it?
No,
okay.
It wasn't fully corrected. Okay? So, yeah, I that's why I didn't have time to prepare a handout today, because I was sitting there and I was staring at it and said, doesn't make sense, this doesn't make sense. And I said, okay, I have to look at it with new eyes. Looked at it with new eyes and I said, wait a second. I fell into my own trap of, I assume that these words always mean this kind of thing, and therefore I never gave the SUGYA a chance on its own. So I said, let's do it from bare bones. Because last week I said, here's our tool that's going to help us. And I said, you know what? No tool. We're going to do it from bare bones right now. That's what we're doing now. Okay? So it's a little, it's tedious. Okay? No, it is. Well, it is. Good. It is. Okay? Not half an hour ago, I was sitting in the Bet Midrash in Or Chaim trying to figure it out. That's why I got here a few minutes late. Okay. And by the way, this is I hope, a reassuring thing that someone could be learning Gemara for I don't know, almost for 20 years, and still look at a sugya. And this is not considered to be a hard sugya. It isn't. And, have misunderstood it to some degree. By the way, I know I've learned this sugya, I don't know, 20, 30 times. I can tell you by heart what it's saying. But now when I had to come explain to you guys what it's doing, I realized that I've been missing something the whole time. But I could tell you the whole time what it's saying. Just like I can tell you that a mathematical equation, I can learn by heart an equation and tell you that with this kind of problem, the answer is going to be 3.5. Just because I know to tell you easily that this equation equals 3.5 doesn't mean necessarily know how I got there. And that's all. What?
What each step does.
You become too familiar with it.
Yeah. So I know this sugya in the following few pages almost by heart. I can tell you not by heart, but I can tell you exactly what's the topics and how it's gonna, but not necessarily how the Gemara came to conclusion at each stage. So even though I've seen the Gemara many times, and that is the key to really understanding Gemara. Other than that, otherwise just take a Schadenstein, take a thing, and just read it. But anyone who's done it knows that just read it, you still get confused about what's going on, right? Because it's not about figuring out what the Gemara is saying, it's figuring about what the Gemara is doing. Not the same thing. And for that, we need to be familiar with the language and the logical structures which are unique and specific to the discipline of learning Talmud. And that's what we're training our minds to do. Okay? So we're recalibrated, but yeah, okay. So, can you guys see, even though this is here? Yeah, I'm going to move this over. Unless, is this...
Fine, we're good.
Wait a second. There, how's that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah? Okay. So, we have a she'ela that we're sure about. And then we have an ilema, which sounded like a kushya, but we see that its function and its serving here is a tshuva. But again, of course, a tshuva that's going to be rejected. Okay? And where is it going to be rejected by? By this. Okay, what does Hatanya mean? Doesn't it say that Tanakh Sor is something different? So what is that corresponding to? What is that relating to? To the proposed tshuva. Right? To the proposed tshuva. If you tell me this, that is not possible because it says something else somewhere else. Yeah.
Isn't it highly unusual that the person asking the question is the same person giving the tshuva in this situation?
It is rare, but that's what an ilema does. Because again, it's not a matter of memorizing. Think of the phrase, if you tell me. If you try to tell me.
It's really part of the question.
Yes. It's basically an extension, like Lawrence said. It's an extension, so when we get to the flow chart, when we get to the flow chart, you'll see how people have asked me, what is the purpose of a flow chart, right? That's stage 3. And what you do, right? Stage 1, identify function words. Second stage, create a logical sequence. Stage 3 is a flow chart. We'll get to it soon, hopefully. Okay? Yeah.
Didn't we say the questioner comes without any understanding at all?
I'm sorry?
I thought we said that the questioner comes without an understanding. He innocently asks a question. But now we're saying he asks a question, but he already knows what might be a proposed answer and is ready to contradict that answer.
You're right. So I was having a long argument 45 minutes ago with one of the other rabbis in the yeshiva, where he said to me, and if you're about to get confused, it's not my fault.
It's my fault.
Yeah. He said to me, because of that, says, because I said the difference between a she'ela and a kushya, and this is an important distinction that we're going to say over and over and over. The difference between a she'ela and a kushya is a she'ela comes from a place of ignorance. I don't know something, so I need more information. Okay, I'm lacking information. And a kushya starts from I do know, and I have information. I'm certain about something, and you are wrong. Okay, because I know something. So over here, you're saying it sounds like this guy is asking the question. Sounds like he knows something. What does he know? That it is not that answer. So is it actually a question or is it a kushya? So, by the way, this is not a science because there's two good arguments here. So my good friend and colleague, Rabbi Noah Sonnenberg, okay, said to me, because of that exact point, we got to understand this my as a kushya.
I guess what you could say.
Wait, this is why. He said to me, look, because it's acting like an innocent question. We're saying, what is this saying? Meaning, there's different ways to say, I understand it as, what does this mean? And don't tell me that it means this, because that just doesn't make sense. So what does it mean? That's how I understand it. And Rabbi Sonnenberg says to me, no. It's really like this. What is it saying?
What do you mean?
It can't possibly mean this. It doesn't make the Mishnah doesn't make it doesn't have a meaning. What is it? What could it possibly mean? It can't mean this, so there's no meaning to it. That it can't possibly mean this because of what it says over there. So what does it mean? Meaning it doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't make any sense. That's a statement of certainty. It doesn't make sense. It's not really asking me, like I'm saying, what does it mean? I don't understand. So, two schools of thought. Both legitimate, and actually when we get to the content, okay, which is after we do this logical structure and we infuse the content itself in, both would work. Sometimes both wouldn't work, and that would help us resolve the structure. Okay? People with me? Okay. I'm going to go with the fact that it's a question. Okay? And the person is really answering it, and he's still the person asking the question is still confused. It still doesn't know. He says, "What do these words? What do these words mean? And if you tell me that it means this, then that doesn't make sense. So what does it mean? Because it can't mean that. It can't mean the thing that seems obvious. Like I know you're going to try to tell me that it means X, but that can't work because of what it says over there. So what does it mean? Okay." So the Vehatanya is basically an extension of the proposed tshuva. It's a tshuva, okay, which is being rejected. Okay, so something is being rejected. What stage is that? That's a function it's serving here. To reject the what?
Question. I guess
something is being what?
I'm saying this is this
because a kushya is supposed to be removed, right? A kushya is an attack. An attack is rebuffed. Okay, but this doesn't, meaning what the stage that follows here doesn't need to be rebuffed. The stage that follows here is supposed to solidify that this is not a possible answer. Right? Again, think of the phrasing. If you tell me that this phrase means mashed potatoes, I'm going to tell you that's impossible. Right? I'm going to tell you that's impossible. So this is rejecting the proposed tshuva. It's rejecting the proposed answer.
But without knowing what comes after the if you say, I was thinking that doesn't it say is the response to the if you say it's mashed potatoes, I'm not going to believe you.
Because, that's fine.
And then
fine.
When I respond, I'm going, but doesn't it say that mashed potatoes are?
But why would you not believe me?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's the Vehatanya. I can't just not believe you. I have to give a reason why. I wouldn't believe you. You have to. Why would you not believe me?
So this
because I have a reason not to believe you. Because it says
the same person speaking.
Yeah,
all
exactly.
things.
So this becomes a stira, okay, a rejection of what? What is it rejecting?
What the expected answer is.
Yes. So we have a she'la, a question, a proposed tshuva, followed by a rejection. No, that tshuva is not possible.
It could also be a proof why that tshuva is wrong.
A proof? No, because hatanya is always, meaning a proof would be as it says in. Here's my proof. Right? This is, doesn't it say in? So hatanya is always going to be an attack of, in the form of, okay, I know.
Fine line.
What? It is a fine line. You're right, it's a fine line. And again, this is not an exact science. It's not. What? Okay. Now. Okay.
But sorry, Rabbi.
Yeah.
But stira should be an utter rejection, right?
Yes. It's an utter rejection.
A definitive statement as opposed to even though you're rejecting it, it sounds like, doesn't it say? You're still asking a question.
Yes, but it is part of this sentence, because really what happens here, the Ilema and the Hatanya, we show them as if they're two stages, but they're really one sentence. If you tell me this, I would tell you that's impossible. Is that one logical stage or two logical stages? If you tell me mashed potatoes, I'd say it's impossible because there are no potatoes here. Is that one logical stage or two logical stages? It's more like one logical stage. But since we're just identifying function words, we're like, oh, Ilema, that's a function word, and Hatanya, usually they're two very distinct stages. But over here, it's like, they're like almost one and the same. So,
But that doesn't it kind of takes away from that certainty. It's like, if you say that it's mashed potatoes, it's not, I'm going to tell you that it's impossible because there are no mashed potatoes here. If you say it's mashed potatoes, then doesn't it say, it's a little more hairy-fairy, it's not quite as confident as a stira. Doesn't it say, it's kind of backing off a little bit.
If you tell me the potatoes, isn't it not mashed potatoes? Fine, either way, I propose something, I'm saying you can't tell me that. So now, I want to explain
because
here.
it's inconsistent with
something else. Remember what we did the first stages that we did in the class number 2 and 3, where we spoke about sources, right? That if, right, let me ask a question, kind of as remembering things of old, okay? Who's talking in the first statement? Mine, okay? What level source is this? Torah source, Tanakh source, or Amoraic source? Amoraic. Correct. How do you know? My. What language is that? Aramaic. What's another way? How you know that it's an Amoraic source? We said there's always two ways to know what the source is. One, there's the language. Is it Hebrew? Is it Aramaic? Right. So if it's Aramaic, Amoraic source. But there's also other way, which is function words. If it's going to be a Torah source, there's going to be a word like de'amar, dichtiv, or there's going to be that little circle with a reference to where the pasuk is. If it's a Tanakh source, there's always going to be some root of Taf Nun Aleph, and if there's no source quote, then it's going to be what? An Amoraic source, because that's the default. That's what the Gemara is. It's a discussion of the Amoraim using the earlier sources, Tanakh and Torah sources. Okay? So, why am I saying all this? Because it says, well, think about it. Proposed answer, and then someone's quoting a Tanakh source. Why would I be quoting a Tanakh source? I either quote a Tanakh source to prove what I'm saying, or bring a Tanakh source to attack what you're saying. Right? So, that's always what it is. Or I'm quoting something I'm quoting a source that I want to figure out. But when it comes to this structure, a proposed answer here, don't tell me it means this, and then it quotes a Tanakh source. People use Tanakh sources to prove things, either to prove that they're right or to prove that they're wrong. I know this is going to be rejected, right? We know that. So what possible use could there be of a Tanakh source if I'm in the middle of of rejecting something, right? I'm saying, if you tell me this, and we understand that phrase is going to lead to a rejection of some kind, and then I'm quoting a Tanakh source. I'm obviously using it as part of saying, don't tell me that. And therefore, what is the answer? Okay? Lawrence? If you disagree, argue it. This is Gemara. Meaning, we are now learning Gemara. This is logical structures. I'm trying to, smash you down with my excellent logic. But if it doesn't make sense, go ahead, attack me back.
It's so clear last time.
What? No, it wasn't.
Clear last time.
No, what? It wasn't. I'm telling you, it wasn't. I fooled you guys. No.
I just don't
You weren't
understand.
critical enough.
I don't understand why. You've mentioned it 3-4 times today already.
Okay.
I still don't understand why the Ilema, if you say why it's it wasn't tshuva, it was a tshuva last time too.
Well, again, it's a kind of like, again, but that's the whole thing. It's a tricky tshuva.
Why it's all three basically saying it's one statement essentially.
Yes. Because, yes, that's what it means. It means that if I were to jump forward to our fourth stage to help us out a little bit, because we've been stuck in this stage for a long time, that's fine. Let's continue a little bit and see if that helps us clarify a little bit.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes. In addition to that, yeah.
Because there's no context, I understand, and I'm not asking to go into context, but because there's no context, we don't know where the words are in the sugya.
Right.
So it could be a mai, and then there could be 3 or 4 sentences before you get to the olema.
Right.
Or and likewise for the Tanya.
But but it doesn't need to. It doesn't make a difference, because all the words in the middle are they are what the Gemara is saying. That They are not what the Gemara is doing.
Okay.
So
it doesn't matter what's in between.
It doesn't make a difference. Now, context a lot of times will help if you're able to use if you're able to read it many times, that will help you understand. But a lot of times it won't. A lot of times people look through it and they get so bogged down by what the Gemara is saying, they don't understand what the Gemara is doing.
So then this is someone's asking a question. There's an answer, whoever is saying it, whether it be that person or somebody else, and then a complete outright rejection of what he said. There's no coming back from that statement.
Correct.
It's the light is on. Period. That's it.
Yes. Now, wait. Yes. I want to continue.
Okay.
I want to continue a little bit, and okay, just because I want to push us forward. Okay. Then we have the Hachi Kamar. This is what it says. What does that sound like? This is what it says.
That's an answer to the original mind.
Yeah, Tshuva. What does this mean? This is what it says.
And it's still the same person speaking.
No, doesn't have to be.
Okay.
No. Actually, no. If you look at it says Amar Rabbi Yehuda Ka'achi Ka'amar. Rabbi Yehuda said this is what it says. So it's an answer. Okay? And now, once we see that, okay? Now once we see this, okay? If, let's say, we weren't sure, and we wrote Kushi over here, okay? This is why, by the way, this is how I realized that I made a mistake last week, okay? Because this is definitely a tshuva. This is what it says, okay? So this is for sure a question, this is for sure an answer. So let's say we thought that this was a kushya, and this was, again, without looking at it, without anything else, we would say this is also a kushya. Okay? Then you'd say, wait a second, a question, a kushya on a question, that doesn't make sense. Then another kushya, an attack on an attack, that doesn't make sense, because an attack needs to be followed by a removal of an attack. That's the next logical stage. Again, there's an assumption here that there is a logical sequence to this argumentation. You're talking about highly advanced legal debates that were recorded for posterity from which people can learn things. It was edited time and time again, very carefully, very brilliant Talmudists and Jewish legal minds. So there's an assumption that there is going to be that the things are not going to be without any logic. They're going to make sense. So, therefore, that's how I was trying to set this, because you know for sure that this is a question, this is an answer. And it does. So basically what this does is, if I go to the next stage of flowchart, so what I have is, okay, I have, excuse me, wait, I'm going to do like this, sorry. Okay? Let's use black, yeah, good idea. Let's use black. When it comes to the flowchart, okay, I go like this. This is one stage. Okay? This is a she'elah. This whole thing is a she'elah, followed by a tshuva. Now the she'elah is made out of smaller stages. That's what we see now. Because a she'elah can be a question, can be a complex question. And we'll see this even more so with attacks. Attacks can be very complex because an attack is going to quote a source, and then it's going to debate, does the source really mean this, not mean this? And once it clarifies what it exactly means, it's going to say, okay, now we've understood the whole attack, or here are the two options of how to understand the attack. And then, okay, so there can be a lot of sub-stages in a stage. Ultimately, this is one question. It's one guy talking, saying, what does this mean? And please don't try to tell me that it means mashed potatoes, because I know it can't mean that. So what does it mean? That's what happened here. Okay? What does it mean when it says that the phrase, all the mitzvahs the Son does upon the Father? Okay? Here's our context. I'm giving into my week. What does the phrase mean, all the mitzvahs the Son does upon His Father? Does anyone understand what that phrase means? Okay, so I'm giving you context because it doesn't mean anything. What does all the mitzvahs of the Son upon His Father? And don't tell me it means possibility one, because I know for sure it doesn't mean that. So please tell me, what does it mean? I'm a Rabbi Yehuda. This is what it means.
I still have an issue with it because I know for sure is equivalent to doesn't it say. I know for sure, it seems to me to be a lot more confident than, because doesn't it say in the...
So you're saying that the whole thing should be a kushya? You're saying the whole thing should be an attack?
No.
You're saying it, yeah, that's what you're saying.
No,
which is fine. There is.
I agree with the first.
Well,
I think. I don't think it's a question. I think it is a question, but I.
So
think
okay, if it's a question, then what logical stage is this? Okay, so this is a question.
I think it's part of the question that it's coming from an innocent place, because it's not saying if you tell me it's mashed potatoes, you're wrong.
It doesn't make sense to say it's mashed potatoes.
But I think it's part of the question.
You're saying it's one long question.
Yeah, because you're saying, well, if you tell me it's mashed potatoes, then I'm not really sure, because...
I agree that it's a long question. That's why we did this.
So then it's not sure. Then it's part of the question. It's almost...
So you're saying we shouldn't write this at all?
Yeah. I don't think it...
Fine.
Fine. If you say he's talking about the answer, but it is part of the and that's why the flowchart clarifies that. It shows it as one big question.
Fine. Fine. If you were to do this from scratch and say, well, once I see a proposed answer, and remember, this is important. Anytime you see ilema is an extremely, extremely popular and relevant phrase. It is very, very, very common. And this debate goes on and on and on continuously, how to understand it. Is it part of the question? Okay? And therefore, maybe just don't define it as anything else. Just say it's just an elongated question. Okay? I like to try to see it as a separate stage, because sometimes the ilemas are really long and complex. Okay? And they have stages and sub-stages and sub-sub-sub-stages. And then if you just assume that it's part of the Shema, you would get lost. But okay, in this case, I think it's completely legitimate, the argument that you're making, in saying disregard them as separate stages. Fine. Because I think it's valuable, and because I think that the Gemara wants you to think of ilema. They want you to spend time on the ilema. Okay? Otherwise, it wouldn't bring it up. It's like, what would I have to say? What I have to say if I ask you a question, okay, and I say to you, don't try to answer it. Don't try to tell me that X and Y. Meaning that I know that you might. There's some legitimacy. There's some logic to saying that. And I want to save us some time and say, don't answer that, because that doesn't make any sense. Or don't say it because I know that isn't true. Okay, the Gemara does want you to pay attention and say, there's a possible answer here, but it's not good enough. So give me a good answer. Okay? That's why I prefer not to just say, okay, let's move on from it. Rather devote time to it and say, it's a proposed tshuva, okay, which is going to get rejected. Okay? So it's like, but it's a quasi tshuva, because it never really stood on its own. Saying, it never says, here's a tshuva, and then someone asks a question. Don't tell me the answer is this, because that is impossible. Okay? So it's a quasi tshuva followed by a quasi rejection. Okay? But it is definitely, from a flowchart perspective, as far as what is happening here, what is the Gemara doing here? It's asking a question, and in the middle it's eliminated, it's clarified its question. It wants to make sure it gets a good answer. Right? That's what it's doing. I have a question and I want a good answer. Okay? It'd be like saying, why do bad things happen to good people? And don't tell me because we have no way to figure it out. I want a real answer. That's an answer. Okay? But don't tell me it's because we can't figure out what God does, because I want an answer that will actually give me some purpose in life. So don't give me that answer.
Yes.
That's what it's doing here.
Yeah, so I would like to think that it's a SHIUR, because even though it doesn't come completely innocent, it isn't a complete. Yeah, I mean it isn't.
I agree, and because I want us to know, I don't want to get us confused. The word "my." The word "my" is a question. 99 out of 100 times. Once out of 100 times, you're going to get a case like this that says, well, it could be understood as a kushya. No, "my" is a question. Except for the really, really rare occasion where it might not be. But "my" is a question, and also over here it's a question. Okay. Okay. So. We're just going to very quickly, because the rest, as far as the logical structure, is very simple, really very simple. And I want to be able to move on from this next week to content, which we all want to do. So, Tanina, it says in the Tanaic source. So, what would this be? After we have a she'ela and we have a tshuva.
Is it part of the tshuva? Is it the same person?
It's a quote. Tanina is a quote. So, what are the options of what it could be?
I think it's alright.
What? Yeah. It's a quote, but it doesn't say, without a, what do you call the thing right before? Without a, doesn't it say, or it says, Tanina, it says in the Braita the following thing. Okay? So, yeah, logic is saying this is a proof. Yeah. Okay?
Could it be a memra or not?
It could be a memra, yes. It could theoretically be the beginning of something new. It could theoretically be one of those two. But it also would make sense, again, that's something that if you saw context, once we get to it will be obvious that it's a raya. But also, since this tshuva didn't come so easily, right? This tshuva didn't come so easily. So if you're asking me a question and putting me in a corner with this question, when I give you an answer, it's not unthinkable that as part of the answer, I'd want to back it up with something. Right? You backed up the fact that there's a possible answer that's not acceptable. So when I give you an answer, it makes sense. But again, if you're learning this on your own at this stage, you'd say, well, it's either going to be a raya or it's going to be a memra. In this case, you're right, it is a raya. Okay? And this is a quote. Okay, very quickly. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. We already have a tshuva of a raya. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, what would this be? And here we said there's a very big difference between Rabbi, let's say Meir Omer, okay, versus Amar Rabbi Meir. Okay, Rabbi Meir Omer is going to be responding to someone. Amar Rabbi Meir is going to be the beginning of something. It says, said Rabbi Meir, versus Rabbi Meir said. What's the difference between those two phrases? Rabbi Spitz said the following. Wait, how did I just say it? Let me see. It doesn't always work in English. Rabbi Meir said is saying X is something versus Rabbi Meir said something else. Amar Rabbi Meir is the beginning of a sentence. Okay, that's a rule that we just have to remember. That 9 out of 10 times that's the way it works. So Rabbi Yehuda Omer. It basically starts something new. It's a memra. Okay? It starts something new. And flowchart-wise, what that does is you start a new box. Meaning, it doesn't connect. It starts a new thing.
So is there now basically a line drawn under that raya above there?
What? So this basically goes like this.
It's like a new paragraph. Or
yeah. New statement. Because that's it. We have our answer. We have our answer. We have our proof. Okay? And that means when we start learning the sugya, we know when we get to here, we have our answer. We're done. We're done. We have a question, we have an answer that is not going to be acceptable, and we have an answer that is acceptable, and we have proof that this answer is correct.
But doesn't it start in a new sugya?
What? No, it's not completely a new sugya because he has something new to say about the topic. Not something to replace it, not something in contradiction. He just has something to add. Okay? What's salka datach? Does it come to your mind to say the following? What does that sound like? Does it come to your mind? Is it possible to think the following?
Attack almost.
Yep, not almost an attack. Kushia. Is it possible to think? That's what it would actually come to your mind. It's actually, is it possible to think? That would be a better translation. Okay. Sorry, I know that you guys wrote this already. Is it possible to think? And I know we have to finish up. It's 9 o'clock already. Is it possible? Meimah, Kushia, and what will follow?
So how often would a question
Wait,
follow a main?
All the time. All the time. Either a meimah will always be followed by either a she'ala or a kushia. Because it's being introduced by someone for some purpose. So it's saying, someone's going to say, hey, here's a quote, and I don't understand it, or I have a problem with this, or this doesn't make sense to me. A meimah will always be followed either by she'ala or kushia. Okay?
So, Rabbi, when you were talking about Rabbi Meir Omer versus Amar Rabbi Meir, did you mention that Amar Rabbi Meir was the starting of a sentence?
Rabbi Meir Omer. Second, Rabbi Meir Omer. Rabbi Meir. Yudah Omer. Yeah, actually, yes. Usually, again, this is another little exception. Okay. Well, I just want to finish this, and next week we're going to do content, and then a lot of the things we did this week will be like, oh, now I understand how. Okay. So, Salka Datach is it possible to think that's a kushia, which will be followed by what? Kushia would be followed by what? A terutz. And we looked at it last week, and we couldn't really find a function where it has a terutz, and we identified it. We basically said there's a word that is not an actual function word, and that is the word Ella, which on its own would be very hard to identify, and only because which means rather. Okay? Rather say. And that's something that on its own we would just say, okay, well, there's got to be a terutz here. Let's go back in the text and look for a word that could be a terutz. It's not a function word, because not all the sages will always have a function word representing them. Okay.
But however, then it's left hanging.
What?
Because
why? Memra, kushia terutz. We attacked it.
Yeah.
We removed the attack. Okay.
So the original memra stands.
Yeah. It appears because it does relate to this, but it's not attacking it, and it's not, right? It has no problem with it, it's just saying something. Okay? So, I know, that was a little tedious, and maybe a little bit up in the air, but I'm telling you that once this person, I wouldn't say master it, because I'm learning it for 25 years, I haven't mastered it. But once you understand how to try to do this, then you know the world of Gemara is open to you. Okay. Next week there is a class next week. Next week we're going to start looking at the content itself, and we're basically going to kind of like insert the content into this structure. And even if we can't understand all the words, which we won't, we're going to get the gist, and we'll be able to follow, to be able to expect, to follow what's going on, even if we don't understand all the words, or as we decipher the individual words, we'll at least know, I know what's going to be happening. I know what we're supposed to be doing. Okay, everyone have a good week.
Thank you.